meeting of this is a meeting of the El Presidio Historic Zone Advisory Board. Let me welcome you to this meeting and call the roll. I'm just going to be following along. Ilya Sloan.
Present.
Christopher Doman.
Present.
Anita Rankin.
Present.
Holly Freitas.
Present.
Siri Trumbull.
Present.
And I'm Susan Aiken. So I think we have everybody here. And the purpose of the meeting is to re-review the plans that were proposed by Sheila and Alex to make some changes in the garage.
Susan, sorry to interrupt. You have approval of minutes from December 5th, and you have called the audience.
Okay, very good.
And Alex Oberlich is here too.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Hi, Alex. Thank you.
Hi.
Are there any questions about the minutes from last meeting?
Which one should I?
That was my Siri, sorry. My Siri. All right, all in favor of accepting the minutes?
You have to do a motion. I didn't catch it last time, but you have to do a motion in a second.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Do I hear a second? Thank you. That was Christopher seconding. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Anyone opposed? So the minutes are unanimously approved. Now we can go ahead to the project. It's our only item tonight. So
Call to the audience, and just so you know, we didn't receive any.
thank you. All right, I'll turn this over to Alex and Sheila.
Hey
And
guys,
Alex,
thanks for taking us.
I made you co-host, so you should be able to share your screen.
I always do this on my phone. But, well, first thing is kind of go down the list. So I think we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 issues from the last meeting. So the first one was saying documentation on existing conditions of comparables in the development zone. Next one, additional.
Alex, we've lost your audio.
That next one says specification sheet alternative technology, additional vegetation and information on what's being exhausted. So I did some research and I even contacted my mechanical guy as far as what we have available for exhausts on the sidewall. And unfortunately, there is a code, the rule that states if you do any sidewall exhaust, you have to have a minimum of 10 feet from grade to bottom of.
We're losing you again.
I can't do a sidewall for the exhaust unit. It has to be on the roof, unfortunately, for the code. There's no exceptions. And so upon researching it, just to be able to up on
I'm
the
sorry,
roof,
I can't hear. I can't hear. I apologize.
no problem. So I'm trying to get a little bit closer, I guess.
That's better.
So what I did research is that I noticed that almost everybody in that area has their units on the roof. We're not, if we didn't put on the roof, it'd be an exception is what I realized. And I actually sent several layouts of the buildings and then the map showing it. And I can show you this. I mean, my screen here.
Can you share it, or do you want me to share mine?
If you're able to share your screen, yeah, because otherwise I just gotta flip my screen and have it on my screen. Because I'm using my phone, I always forget to pull my laptop out.
Can you guys see my screen?
That's
Yes.
exactly. So those little yellow dots are every unit that has units on the roof. I mean, as I say, every building has them. What I do know is that you can't see them because they've either screened them, or they have them hidden behind a parapet wall. So, but otherwise, they're all up on the roof. So I think the request to it on the sidewall.
Hey, Alex, I'm going to reiterate, you're very difficult to hear, you need to lean into your microphone because you're fading in and out.
My apologies. So yeah, I mean, you can see that. And so what I came up with, and I kind of like, this was Sheila's idea, is if we kind of make it look more, instead of just a straight screen, because I know you guys didn't like that when I brought it up previously, is we make it more like a decorative feature, like a fireplace would look on top of the roof, which again, in that area, there's lots of fireplaces on the roofs. Almost every unit has a fireplace on the roof. I think the only downside to this is it will have more of a beefier looking fireplace. Because we have 2 units on the roof. But that's what I came up with, and I think that helps hide it, conceal it, and not make it look like it's just the equipment up on the roof. And so I'll let you guys tell me if you accept that as a option now. Because yeah, there is no alternative technology because of that code request automatically takes it out. And I did put additional vegetation called out on the site plan. I put a couple palm trees up there as well to help deal with that one.
Can you hear me? Can I interject? This is Sheila.
Yep.
So and I know in the first plans, it was stated that, that it would be visible from the street. And it really is not. There's a huge tree in the park right next door, and I have oleanders all throughout that side. So I think you'll see it from inside my property way more than you would see it from outside. You would have to stand out in the road. It would be pretty well hidden by the current vegetation, but I have no problem with doing more vegetation to make it where it's not seen at all.
So it would be visible if you're standing on the street, perhaps it wouldn't be visible, but if you were driving by or if you were on the opposite side of the street, it's on the roof, so it would be visible.
But where the oleanders are, the oleanders cover a lot of it. But you will, but that's why we would put
Right.
make it look like a brick chimney as
Right.
opposed to just a screen around it. I've seen the restaurants to do the screens. We could do it with faux brick where it looks like an actual chimney, so it would match more with the brick building.
Thanks.
And I did want to point out that I did see a couple of them have the units that you can see on the roof as well. I mean, if you go to page 5, we spot from the street, and page 7. Yes, that one you spot it from the street up there. And then 7, that one's the worst one. That one they didn't try hiding it whatsoever.
Right. It was before reviews.
So
Yeah, and this is Sheila again. I have no problem with making it pretty as opposed to seeing it and looking like a unit on the roof. I would prefer, actually, because I don't want to look at it either. I would prefer, I have no problem doing the brick veneer to make it look like it's a chimney.
Christopher Doman's hand is up.
Hi there. I know that we're not supposed to consider elements like landscaping because it's fleeting and easily changed, but do you have an elevation to show us how that would look with the existing and proposed vegetation? I'm not sure palm trees will do much, but.
no, I didn't drop the vegetation on that elevation. I have the elevations on the plans, but
That's really helpful during reviews, just when you have an idea that you're trying to share to show how it will actually manifest itself. Thank you.
Yeah, I think the palm trees aren't a great idea because, as you say, it's not a good blocker. The oleanders, on the other hand, there's a mesquite tree that does block that area from the road. Half of the roof, you can't see it. And then the oleanders really do a good as a blocker. I have that around both sides of the property. The oleanders they grow so fast, and they do block that whole area.
Siri has her hand up. Siri?
Yes,
Uh-huh.
I'm trying to zoom in to this roof plan. It looks like the length and width
of the largest chimney in quotations is 7 feet, no, 7 feet by 4.5 feet, something like that. And then the other kind of brick enclosure would be 5'5" by 4 feet. What about the height? Do you have the height in an elevation or a section indicated?
Yeah, all the elevations on the left show you. So I would look at elevation 2, west elevation is your best one because that's the street view. And so on that one, the top of the highest one's 13.6. Then the lower one's at 12 foot. And these are all the sizes came up based on just standard code. I have to keep a clearance around the equipment, and then I have to keep any sort of elevation to screen the height of it. So that's where the heights and the dimensions come from.
Other thoughts or comments about this?
This is a really interesting proposal, and thank you for trying to respond to the comments from last time. So now what comes into question is what is worse? The exposed equipment or these kind of out of context, strangely proportioned faux chimney extrusions?
Theory, I have similar thoughts. Anything that's fake.
I didn't get that. Could you try again?
Sorry. It seems oddly a very difficult choice because the equipment would be really, really ugly, but the faux chimneys go right against any of the standards that we ought to maintain for the integrity and honesty of elements in a structure. Christopher?
Yeah, I really appreciate the analysis of the existing equipment in the neighborhood. Seeing it in plan and also elevation was a really helpful analysis, I think, for all of us to see, especially in the adjacent context. Yeah, the question about were those created in a pre-evaluation period, or are they something that sets a precedent for future designs is probably something to next consider, the era of that addition. Because I think it has to be a precedent to be considered as a viable sort of alternative to the equipment. What I've noticed about the chimneys, which was a very helpful analysis, they're very attenuated. It's almost like material costs so much money that the chimneys had to be made so thin and quite often stuccoed because maybe the brick was not to be exposed to moisture. So that's an interesting thing to consider in relationship to the previous comment. The scale of these enclosures as faux chimneys overwhelms the scale of the building. It doesn't match your precedent. And typically, when you look at this sort of faux brick, it looks like faux brick, especially when you put it next to a real brick. And that's, I think, probably something to consider as well. I wonder, I mean, as an alternative, is there a way to build those things into an enclosure? It sounds like you can't because you need to have some sort of clearance around them. So that makes it a difficult sort of position to be in. But I think the scale of these elements is incongruous to precedent in the neighborhood. And it just throws off the balance of the whole scale of the building.
Are there other thoughts about that? Or Alex, would you like to respond?
I mean, we'd be open, of course, to doing it half and half, where we have one exposed and one not. Maybe that would be satisfactory. I mean, that way we don't have a lot of work going up on there. And we can keep the exhaust fans, the one that doesn't have a huge height above the roof. It's only like 12 inches or 20 inches. I think it extends above the roof. The evap cooler is the one that it goes higher. It's the one that's the taller unit. So if Sheila's correct, I mean, I don't have a visual, but if Sheila's correct, it sounds like we definitely would have never see the exhaust fan because it does sit lower against the roof line.
And we could also, we could make where the one that's taller, the swamp cooler, it could be more to the east, meaning more off so that you would not see it from the road. It would be more into the property where you'd see it from inside the property as opposed to out by the street. Does that make sense? The building sets east and west. We could make sure the tallest one is farthest to the east, which is in the property as opposed to people seeing it.
Yeah, that's another good point. I can easily rotate it and tuck it more into the corner. So again, the skinny side is facing street as well.
Make the shorter one more towards the street and
Yep.
maybe do a faux brick over that one and not the one that's inside what you see from the inside of the property.
So just for clarification, what is the function of the larger or taller one that we see in that east elevation?
That's the makeup air. So that's the air from that you have to put back in the space because it's taken from the exhaust for the hood to keep continuously run. So
I
that's
don't know
nothing to
about
do-
the detail of those makeup air units. Is there a way to create that in an actual chimney, or do you have to have that downward draft?
The downdraft you have to have because it does have to spit right in front of the hood itself. But yeah, the unit itself, it's still standard with swamp cooler in the end is what it is.
Are there other thoughts?
Hi.
Hi, Susan, yeah, this is Holly. I do have a question. So when we're looking at this, are two options? Is that it? Or I'm hearing that the exposed, exhaust is not acceptable and that the faux brick is less egregious, but it doesn't seem to fit the bill. So is that what we're left with?
I haven't came up with anything else brainstorming wise. And I said the code for the exhaust, I can't put it on the sidewall. That was the main question, technology request. And then the evap cooler, that's a duct that has to run downwards, like you mentioned. So if I put it on the side of the building, I'd still have to make it go up and then run the roof line, then go down. So that's why that one you can't place on the side. You're going to see duct on the side, which is the worst look than anything. So that's I think the option of tucking the swamp cooler to the southeast corner and then rotating it, that's doable. Easily do that. And then that would allow us to have the short side face the street. So then it would truly look more like a fireplace if that's the kind of look we want to go for to help make it blend in better. And then the
I think-
exhaust, like I said, because that does sit lower, I really don't think you would see that at all because it does sit so low to the roof. It doesn't protrude very high.
Just a code question. So you keep calling it an evaporative cooler. Does this also require a stand and an access platform like other evaporative coolers for
It
new
would.
installation?
Yeah, it gets on a stand.
So when I see new installations in historic neighborhoods for evaporative coolers, I'm quite often seeing these platforms in which technicians have to have safe access to it. That's not required in this case, is it?
No, it's only when you have a roof that's taller than 14 feet.
Ilya, you have a hand up.
Yes, definitely setting it back to the east is preferable. It will just visually diminish its appearance. As far as weighing the faux brick versus it being exposed, I think I lean to the side of, as awful as it might be, not even bothering with the faux brick.
That would be ugly but honest.
Yes.
And I am open to whatever you all think would be the best with it. I'm open to covering it or planting more plants or leaving it exposed and just trying to cover it with foliage, that the plants. I think that I could do way more oleanders over on that side. On the inside my property, just between the wall and the park, I have oleanders from the street to that building, but I could actually plant them from where they stop at the building and continue them all the way to the other rock wall, and they grow like crazy. I could have that, they would cover pretty much that whole section there, because right now at where the park is, there's the oleanders are about 50% of my wall, or only 50%. I could just plant the rest of it and just get those to height to cover it too.
That's appreciated.
Yes, and especially because this is a building in a historic area, but the building itself is certainly not a historic treasure, especially the way it was finished off from being a garage.
Yeah, I understand that too.
But do we want to call for a motion?
I have one more question. Could we take a look at the photograph of the building from the street, please?
The west elevation is the one from the street. Oh, you're the photo.
That would be in the last package that was sent.
And while that's getting pulled up, what kind of fumes are getting exhausted?
It's standard cooking is what it is. So I mean, it would be whatever they cook in that during that time, like go from spaghetti to hamburgers, hot dogs, whatever it may be.
I have a question on that point too, and this is really for Sheila. Sheila, are you expecting this to be inspected as a commercial kitchen since the food is going to be served for public events?
Well, yes and no, but yes, it has to be. I'll have to have the health department, and I've already contacted them because I already have, I'm already certified for a feeding site because we do serve food at the other property. So we get inspected. So we have the kitchen that we have there. This one, I have a caterer that makes the food at a restaurant, and then they actually have a catering kitchen, and then they bring it there. So it's not, all of the food won't be cooked there, but yes, we will definitely have to be inspected by the health department. That's just something we would have to do.
Well, a question comes to mind. If this is certified as a commercial kitchen, does that then set a precedent for the establishment of a commercial kitchen elsewhere in the neighborhood, and thus open the way to, say, a restaurant, which
we would have to change, I would have to change the zoning 100% to be able to do anything like that. And I have zero desire, and they would have somebody decided they would want to do a commercial kitchen and do a restaurant, they would have to be zoned appropriately. And that's therein lies. Yeah, therein lies the problem. It went out. Yeah, the problem with that, yeah, trust me, I do not want to do a restaurant. Never will, never even think about it. But that would be the problem if somebody decided they wanted to do it.
Should be last page, Jody. Last page, top left corner. Right there. Go up to that. Go up to that third sheet. Sorry, I didn't know there's a lot more documents. That's just there's the literature. That guy right there. Just go to the top left corner.
Street view, southeast side. Yeah, east side. So do you see where the oleanders are? They're actually a lot taller now, I think, but and they only go to the building. I could continue them to from where they start and keep them going past to where the building is.
And what's the diameter of the exhaust unit?
I can get that. Okay.
So it sounds like it is an option to place the
30
swamp
inches.
cooler. It sounds like it is an option, or it is feasible to place the swamp cooler on the ground.
That's an option as far as, yeah, if you're okay running the duct up and over and then still run it on the roof.
So the swamp cooler could be between the wall of the park, Alex, and the building. Would it go there and then just duct it up and then over?
You could, yeah.
Oh, I'm okay with that also. I either way works for me.
Yeah, it's got to maintain. So we have 4 feet. That might be tight. So because I have to maintain 12 inches on all sides except for one access has to be 3 feet. And so if the unit's at 2 feet, and then with the wall space, it'll be tight. But we might be able to make the 1 foot.
Yeah, I don't know what that.
The grade.
Yeah, I don't know what that distance is back there. I know it's not a really big area between the wall and that building. It's not.
Yeah.
Well, it would certainly have a lower profile.
Definitely.
Yeah, if we run it on the north side, it's hidden by the oleanders for sure. But we still have the little bit of the street view.
So from this street view, we would do the hood part, that's the short part, the exhaust part, closer to the road where it says street view east, closer there, and then the swamp cooler would be the one farther back into the property, so it wouldn't be as visible. Or put it down on the ground if we can.
That sounds preferable.
Yeah, and that makes no difference to me. I would be fine with that too. Whatever makes it least visible.
And what is the diameter and height of the exhaust
The
unit?
diameter is 30 inches. The height,
No, not the swamp cooler, the exhaust.
yeah, the exhaust is 30 inches in width.
Oh. And
Well,
height?
actually, yeah, 30 inches, and then the height, it comes off the roof 2 feet.
So 24 inches tall. So maybe if we could put the swamp cooler down on the ground and put the exhaust fan as far to the east as we can get it.
That would certainly be preferable to the current idea of putting both of them on the roof. At least I think it would.
I agree.
I would like to come down against the brick. It's because it's fake. It's not integral to anything.
It would bring your eye to it. I think you would see it because it would be. Yeah, I get that too. It would I would think it would look better just to see the cooler or the hood as opposed to seeing the brick part too. It would be less intrusive, I think.
Yeah.
Other thoughts about this?
I feel like I say this almost every review that we have, but I think that the true street elevation is one of the most helpful drawings we have as a review committee.
Yes.
Because it actually shows the sort of public access to the property.
Mhm.
And I think there's 2 ways to do it. One is to just create a building elevation that includes the foliage and also all the new equipment. Or a photograph like this that you use as an illustration where maybe you Photoshop the equipment into it. Either way, I think it's probably the best way to sort of show or make the argument for the goodness of the project. And we so rarely see it, but it's such an obvious and cost-effective way to do it. I just wish it were employed more often, because I think it would save us a lot of time also, and probably save you a lot of billable hours too.
Jody has said that we could request that. So Jody, if as applicants come to you, if you can stress that that's what we will require, that would be great.
I
We
can
can
help
mention
write
that to them.
Jody.
We can mention that to them. Bear in mind, the way that the code reads is a little bit different, but we can let them know that this is something that you're interested in.
Thank you.
I'll make sure to notate it. I mean, Jody knows I do a lot of these things, so I'll make sure to note that for you guys.
Thank you. And this goes beyond this project. I think it's important to
Absolutely.
let them know not just that we're interested in it, but that the review will go a lot more smoothly if we have a visual of that sort, an elevation that would allow us really to see what we're talking about.
Could we look at the roof plan, please, and hopefully that roof plan will allow me to see the relationship to the sight lines. Okay. So actually, this is helpful, but before we look at this, could we look at the site plan, please? Okay, and where's the building we're talking about?
The top right corner of the property line.
Okay, and then would you please place your cursor where the photograph was taken from? Does that make sense?
It's from
No.
Granada
Out by
Avenue.
Granada Ave,
Yeah, it's by the street, so.
Granada.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So, okay, so it sounds like we are honing in on an approach, which is again a combination of things, a layering of design elements that might make this acceptable. One with landscaping to shield landscaping that is not a palm tree, that has enough foliage to be able to block sight lines from Granada Avenue to the unit. And then placing the exhaust. Would you refer to the roof plan, please? And then placing the exhaust towards the northeast corner of the dwelling. And then lastly, moving the swamp cooler down to the ground and hopefully bringing the duct into the dwelling through the wall. Does that sound like we're getting closer?
Alex, would we be able to bring the duct through the wall, or does it have to come through the ceiling
No.
for the swamp?
It's gotta go through the ceiling, so that's what I say, I have to go up and then run on the roof, then drop back down. And then as far as the exhaust goes, just so you know, I can only move it over a total of 4 feet, because it still has to stay above the actual hood side of the space. So right now I have the exhaust on the left side of the hood, which would be the west side. But I can move it to the east side, so it moves it 4 feet over.
Excellent.
So it's unwise to have the exhaust and the makeup air adjacent to each other, but it sounds like it's preferable visually to have both pieces of equipment on the north side of the gable. How
North.
far to the east can you place the makeup air, and how close can you place the exhaust to the makeup air unit?
You gotta maintain 10-foot separation distance. So as long as I maintain that, that's as close as I get. So once it's on the ground, that should still give me the 10-foot distance. I'd have to just check it, but I mean, like I said, I know the eave height is like 8 or 9 feet, so we gain that from vertical distance, and then it'd be just 2 feet over. So I'm sure we'll be fine with putting the swamp cooler on the floor, running the duct up, and then on the roof, and then back down. The exhaust, I can shift it over east 4 feet more. what I can do. So it'll be tucked further, basically be located at the center of the building is what it'll.
And there'll be no equipment on that south facing gable.
Correct. Yeah, I think once we do those two iterations, it definitely would conceal it. I don't see how we would see that one after all, because the duct up running vertical will be tucked behind the building, and then more towards the east property line. So pretty far from street view for sure on that one. And then it's just the
I would
exhaust
also,
I slightly see.
I would also recommend painting the exhaust with a finish that doesn't have a sheen or a high reflective component to it.
Yes.
Can you paint it, Alex? Is that allowable?
I don't have any code issues on that. Yeah, it's just sheet metal issues. They just have to make sure it's fireproof because it's going to get hot for us.
Could you
Well,
say
there are a couple of ways.
please, closer to your microphone, please?
Yeah.
Missed that last comment that you made.
It said, of course, the exhaust will get a little bit hot with the fumes, but that's the extent of it. It's just exhausting that hot air. So but I don't see no issue with it painted. It's gonna get hot with that summer sun, anyways.
Maybe powder coat as opposed to paint?
Yeah, that's an option.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I would make it, it would look better from the inside the property also.
Okay. Any more comments before I ask somebody to formulate a motion?
Just real quickly, this is Anita. I think that this plan that's developing now is a much better solution than the two other options. So, I mean, I think it's definitely moving forward. Now, at this point, do we make a motion to approve or a motion that we want to see it again, or?
I'd like to make a motion to see it again.
To have these changes made and then see what we're left with. Is that correct, Siri?
I actually don't know what it's called. Maybe it's not a motion, but it would be really helpful, I think, for everybody, Sheila included, to see a dimensioned roof plan placing the location of the exhaust and the elevation of the wall that is affected by the swamp cooler duct, the dimensions of the swamp cooler on the roof in its new location, the trees placed in the site plan, and the specification of the paint or the powder coat. So I don't necessarily think that it might need to be a motion. I'm not sure of the semantics, but I would need assistance in how to move forward.
Could we make concessions that if these notes were made that if these things were done, that then it would be approved? Or do you want us to resubmit and wait to have another meeting?
So you can make a motion to recommend approval with those conditions. Mind you, this still has to go to the plans review subcommittee, and then these recommendations and the recommendations of the plans review subcommittee would be reviewed by the director of planning and development services, who would make the decision. So you can motion to continue it again. If you do recommend continuation, I would ask that you come up with a date that works for everybody. So Alex can get on an agenda pretty quick, because this would be the second continuance that you're doing. Or like I said, you can recommend approval with conditions.
I'd like to make a recommendation for approval with conditions.
I
And the
second
condition,
that.
And the conditions are that all equipment is on the north face of the roof and as east, is located in to the east as possible with the makeup air located on the ground to the east of the building.
Is there a second to that?
And
And
do
the
we wanna-
unit be powder coated.
Yes.
Powder coated equipment.
Yes.
And the addition of vegetation to help block the view.
Jody, did you get that on record?
I'm getting that as quick as I can. on record.
Okay, all right, thank you. We'll
My
wait
notes
just
may
a
not
second.
make sense to anybody but me, but I think I got the 4 items. Do you have a second for that?
I
I'll
second
second.
that.
Can I make one comment real quick? And
Wait, who was the second?
Give you a
Carrie
second.
Trumbull.
Ilya
Oh,
was the second? Okay.
When you stated where the unit on the ground, the swamp cooler would be placed to the east of the building, it would actually be the northeast corner of the building. In the section between the wall, it would be the northeast corner.
Correct.
Does the motion maker and the seconder agree to the amendments to say northeast?
Yes.
Agreed.
Thank you.
Jody, as soon as that's down, something you could read back to us. then
Oh,
we'll Take a vote.
okay. So all equipment is on the north side of the roof and to the east as possible. The makeup air is located on the ground with the amendment from the east to the northeast. The units be powder coated and vegetation is added to block the views.
That sounds right.
I think it would be wise to specify that the powder coat is not reflective, or that it has a matte finish. And a hue or a color that you know,
A muted color.
So I mean, we could do the teal that it is, the trim, or I can do a tan. I think that to match the roof color, the shingles on the roof would probably be the best color in my opinion, but I'm open to suggestions.
Not teal, please.
That was a joke.
That would stand out like a sore thumb.
But
Matching the roof sounds ideal.
yeah, the shingle color that to make it match that.
Sounds good.
Does the motion maker and the seconder agree to the amendment?
Agreed.
Agreed.
Thank you.
Shall we take a vote then?
Roll call.
I can't see the attendees because my screen is not large enough. And now there we go. Siri?
yes,
Siri votes aye. Anita?
Aye.
Christopher?
Aye.
Holly?
Aye.
Alex Oberlich?
Aye.
Ilya?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. So it passes. Thank you very much for your patience in working through this with us. And Alex, thank you for your presentation. Sheila,
Thank you very much.
for your
Appreciate it, guys.
presentations.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
You guys have a good one.
Thank you. Thanks to everybody. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Aye.
Oh, righty then. Ilya, hey Ilya, before you
Yes.
leave,
Yes.
you actually have to finish the agenda.
I
before
thought
you-
I was gonna, staff update?
Well, now you can't do it because you don't have a quorum. So
Okay,
just so you know, can you remind Susan and I can
Yes.
send out an email that you need to
I will. I
finish
will.
the agenda.
I
Okay,
will.
thank you. Have a good night.
All right, stay well.
You too.
Good
Bye-bye.
night.